What is going on, y'all? It's Osmoden here, and today we are ranking every single evolution in the game on a tier list from A tier to F tier, and then that S tier at the top reserved for just the most elite cards at the very top. Maybe you're trying to, you're ready to upgrade, unlock a new evolution. You're trying to decide which one to unlock, or maybe you're just here for entertainment purposes. But either way, we're going to be going through each one by one. And if you disagree with me or you agree, just let me know in the comments below. But we're going to start things out with the Evo Barbarians. Barbarians, I have not seen it used in a very effective way. I don't know if I'm going to put them in F tier. I don't know if they're an F tier Evo. But they might be, dude. They're going to be a C tier, I think. Low C tier. They get good rage and like they can, when they work, they work. But I don't know if I would. I have Evo Barbarian because I unlocked it in a chest, but I don't know if I would go after them. Next up, we have Knight. I think that's the oldest Evo in the game, and he's still relevant today. Knight has elite defensive measures. It can really be a good support card. I think I might put either in high B tier or low A. I think I might put him in A tier. I think it's gonna be a low A tier card. Next up we have the Evo Skellies. Evo Skellies, for one elixir, this is an S tier card. This is the first S tier Evo that we've seen so far. Dude, the amount, the way that you can split lanes with one elixir, and if you don't respond to it, it can take out your entire tower. That has to be S tier. Same thing for Firecracker. This is an easy S tier. Firecracker is in like every deck. At one point, it was in like pretty much every deck that you faced when it first came out. They nerfed her a bit, but she is still just as relevant. The extra range that she gets and the poison factor is absolutely elite. That's an S tier card. Next up, we have the Mortar, Evo Mortar. I have not seen a whole lot of Evo Mortar play, but when you get a Goblin on tower, he does work. That's kind of like a Goblin barrel mixed with a Mortar. That is an absolute B tier, high B tier evolution. Next up, we have the Bats. The Bats are easily F tier. I used to use Evo Bats in my main deck, so don't come at me like I don't know how to use Evo Bats. I understand Evo Bats. The Evo Bats, when they attack a troop, they gain more health. And if you can get into a very specific situation where you have like a giant and you can get a bunch of hit points up, you can get a good push with it. But Golem, E-Giant, a lot of like it doesn't do anything against those cards, and you can still, if you predict it, like you can still see it come in and then zap it, and that takes them out. Or you could just go one elixir higher and use arrows. They're very easy to counter, and I have not seen a whole lot of game changing Evo Bats being used. Next we have the RG, the Royal Giant. That's either going to be a high B tier or a low A tier. I think I might put him in the B tier just because he's still, you can't counter him with Swarm anymore, but all of your mini tanks, you can still use just the same. So it doesn't change the counter a whole lot. High B tier. Next up, the Royal Recruits. Royal Recruits, I feel like are going to be in a low A tier position. The Royal Recruits are very difficult to deal with. Their Evo doesn't make them that much stronger than they usually are, but when you pair it with like Baby Dragon Evo, things get pretty interesting. Next up, we have the Evo Archers. Evo Archers, I'm thinking, are probably C tier. And I know what you're thinking. Evo Archers are very similar to the Evo Firecracker, which I put in S tier, but they're still single target. They still do effectively the same thing. They're still countered by all the same things, arrows, you know, anything that you would traditionally counter archers with, you don't have to change your strategy up at all. So for those reasons, I'm going to put her in that C tier range. Next up, we have Evo Fire Spirit. Not Fire Spirit. I would love an Evo Fire Spirit. Evo Ice Spirit, which I think is going to be a pretty solid B tier. This is middle of the pack B tier. For 1 elixir, you get a lot of value. The double, triple freeze ability is nice. At the end of the day, it doesn't change the game. Like, I know what you're saying is only 1 elixir card. Like, you can only ask so much of it. 1 elixir Evo Skeletons is a game changer. When you play, like, recruits and a skeleton split, or you do, like, an E-barb skeleton split, you have to completely change your strategy to account for them. That's why they're S tier, and that is why the Ice Spirit is B tier. Next, we have the Evo Valk, and I'm going to put Evo Valk solidly in A tier. Very solid piece to any deck. Great defensive value, great support value. I can't put it in the S tier, but very clearly an A tier card. Next up, we have the Evo Berry. I'm going to put him in a solid B tier. It's very interesting interactions you can get with him. Same thing with the Magic Archer, where you can just like really do some damage and get on tower. But for 2 elixir, the what he does, I can't justify any higher than that. 2 elixir wall breakers, however, I can very solidly put in A tier. They are very difficult to counter, especially if you're going to try to counter them with as much or less elixir. How for 2 elixir or 1 elixir do you counter wall breakers, especially when they're split? Very much a game changer. Very solidly A tier. Next up, we have the Evo Tesla. I'm split between A tier and B tier. For a building, it's pretty elite. I don't know how much it changes the game though. I'm kind of leaning towards B tier. Even in its prime position, being in an Expo deck, I don't see it changing the game a whole lot. Very solid addition. Love to have the Evo Tesla. I don't know how much of a game changer it is. Next up, we have the Evo Zap. And I think Zap is going to have to go in C tier. It's pretty much the same as Ice Spirit, but it costs double the elixir. Every once in a while, if you get it paired with a Goblin Curse, like, it can be shifty, but I don't see Evo Zap really, like, affecting a deck in a positive manner too much. Next up, we have the Battle Ram. This is very clearly A tier, if not S tier. This is a very good card. The fact that it bounces off the tower and it like repels troops, like you can't swarm it anymore. Like it really makes me want to push it to S tier. This is very, very high A tier. This is a very good Evo to add to any deck. Especially if you're running like a P.E.K.K.A. Bridge spam with Evo Wallbreaker, Evo Battle Ram, elite card. Highly recommend if you are thinking about getting the Battle Ram. It's a good card to get. Very same vein, Evo Wizard is going to very clearly be an A tier card. The Evo Wizard, the fact that he has a shield, so he's now immune to lightning. He's immune to fireball. He's immune to rocket. You're not going to be able to, if you've been putting Wizard in the back the whole time, or if you have a big card coming and you're trying to defend with Wizard, and he's been getting lightninged or fireballed or whatever, that completely changes the game there. You have to think of a new strategy to combat, to counter him. And I think he does a little bit more damage too. Very good card. Next up is the Evo Witch. This is our third S tier card. The Evo Witch is such a good card because for 5 elixir, there's no 5 elixir spell card that can take her out. You have to either use a 6 elixir lightning or rocket to take her out, or if you've been using fireball, which is good against a regular witch, like it barely leaves her any health. So fireball is usually the go-to for combating the witch. You cannot fireball the Evo Witch because she's still going to be alive and the skeletons are going to heal her back up. I can't tell you the amount of times I've got an Evo Witch all the way down to like 1 HP left, and then she's come all the way back up from the skeleton spawn. Elite card. Next up, we have the Goblin Barrel. I'm going to put this in F tier. This might be controversial. The Goblin Barrel, I'm not saying Goblin Barrel is an F tier card. Goblin Barrel is very clearly a very strong win condition, but the evolution for Goblin Barrel, it was already like just the concept of it, I didn't understand. Because if you're going to Goblin Barrel a tower, like you might sneaky barrel or something, you're pretty much, if you have one tower that's almost down and another tower that's at full health, you're always going to want to Goblin Barrel the weaker tower. So it's not much of a surprise when I saw 2 barrels coming out, which one the real one was going to be. I almost always knew, if I didn't know which one the real one was, I knew which one it should have been, because there's very clearly one tower that, whichever tower is lower is the one that it should be. And then they nerfed it for, I don't know why, but now you can just tell. You just know which one. It has a different like graphic. Like you can tell which one's the fake barrel, completely defeating the purpose of the Evo in the first place. I don't get it. Maybe you can double barrel the King Tower with a mirror and a clone and get something off, but that is, for a whole evolution, that is a bad one. Next up, the Evo Goblin Giant, which I think I'm going to put in C tier. It's very dangerous when it gets working, but it's very easy to counter. And again, it doesn't change your strategy a whole lot. You pretty much play the Evo Goblin Giant the same way you would play a non-Evo Goblin Giant. Next up is the Goblin Drill, which I think is a high B tier, maybe a low A tier. I think I'm going to leave it in B tier. It doesn't change your strategy a whole lot, but it is pretty elite when you match it with like a poison, and it just pops from one place to the next. You're almost guaranteed hits on tower, pretty much 500 damage guaranteed. Really good Evo. I don't know if I would go much higher than that. It doesn't change a whole lot. It's kind of countered the same sort of way, but I feel very solid with it in B tier. Next up, the Goblin Cage. I think this is an A tier card. I think this is an A tier Evo. Goblin Cage, not only does it completely shut down like Hog or whatever by pulling it into the cage with it, but it's also like a little bit stronger. It might be a little bit faster when it pops out. A tier card. This is a good Evo to have. I'm going to put the P.E.K.K.A. in B tier. The Evo P.E.K.K.A., it heals up when it hits troops and when it kills them. I'm not sure this changes how you counter P.E.K.K.A. too much, because I think the idea is that like before, if you have a naked P.E.K.K.A. coming down, you can just use a Skarmy and completely combat it. I'm pretty sure if Skarmy still takes out an Evo P.E.K.K.A. Because she's not healing up fast enough with her hit speed. So if her hit speed was a little bit higher, then the heal factor would be more impactful. But the fact that P.E.K.K.A. has such a slow hit speed, the heal factor does not play as much of a role, and therefore it's not as good of an Evo. Evo Mega Knight. I think this is going to be our 4th S tier Evo. Evo Mega Knight is just the fact that he throws cards out at a range that he gets another lunge off, makes it an S tier card. The fact that it pushes cards back in the first place, already a strong concept for an evolution, but the fact that it pushes it back enough that it can get another charge off, dealing maximum damage, that's an S tier Evo. The evolution E-Dragon, the electric dragon. I might put this in A tier. I think I might put this in A tier. The fact that it chains so much, I think it does more damage too. It's a elite support card. Very difficult. It's easy to counter still. You kind of play it the same sort of way. But if you're very careful about protecting your Evo E-Drag and you get it matched with like an E-Giant or a regular Giant or, any sort of big card. I see a lot of Goblin Giant Sparkies with a E-Drag. The Evo E-Drag, plus it's a one cycle Evo. all those factors make it an A tier Evo. It's an elite support card. Might be the best support card in the game. Next up, we have the Evo Musketeer. I might put it in F tier, but I think I have to put it in C tier. It has its moments when it really like gets off like good hits, but it is just so easy to counter. It only gets off 3 hits, and then it's pretty much just a regular Musketeer. Not a ton of value for an Evo, in my opinion. The Cannon. The Cannon's very situational. This is a solid B tier. The Cannon's a very situational card. If you have a lot of swarm or spam that you're facing, you can get off a good hit. You can take out Princess with it. But it only has that Eagle artillery once, and then it's pretty much regular cannon. If it was bigger, if they made it instead of a 2x2 tile, a 3x3 tile, and then it could draw more troops in, I think that would be a much needed buff to the cannon. But it's, for right now, it's just a pretty solid okay Evo, in my opinion. The Evo Snowball, very clearly an A tier Evo to me. Evo Snowball matched with Expo, matched with Goblin Drill. You throw it in the right deck, and the fact that it picks up all the troops. If you have all these troops in front of an Expo, and the Expo goes from one troop to the next, the fact that the Snowball picks them all up, lets the Expo retarget, and then drops them, that makes it elite. It's not quite an S tier for the value, but definitely high A tier. If you're thinking about Snowball, if you play an Expo deck, you got to have it. Got to have an Evo Snowball in your deck. If you play Goblin Drill, Minor Poison, anything, Goblin Barrel, anything that gets on tower, throw an Evo Snowball into your deck. It will be elite for those late game scenarios. Evo Dart Gob. I feel like Evo Dart Gob's an A tier. I don't think it's quite an S tier yet, but I haven't gotten a ton of experience playing it. We just unlocked it. If you haven't seen that video, check it out. But the poison damage, the speed that it already does, it's still countered in a very similar way, but it's definitely like a much higher priority to counter. If you see an Evo Dart Goblin, like, you're going to use your arrows. So if you have like a log bait, arrows bait kind of deck, if somebody sees an Evo Dart Goblin, they're going to use their arrows, and that's going to free up your Goblin Barrel. It's going to free up your Princess. It's going to free up your gang. So definitely changes the pace of the game. A tier card. The Evo Lumberjack. Evo Lumberjack used to be an S tier back when you could rage. You could do the rage trick, but now I think it's just a solid A tier. I think if you can get a raged up Ghost Lumberjack on tower, it does absolute work, and you have to account for that. But if you account for that, it's pretty easy to account for. It's very similar to the regular Lumberjack. You just need to be mindful of the Ghost. Still an A tier Evo. The Evo Hunter. I think I might put Evo Hunter in A tier as well. Evo Hunter is the net ability acts as a vines. It brings down air troops that your regular cards can hit. I kind of wish that the net came out a little bit more consistently. I wish it was like a little bit quicker of a reset. I think it might be due for a buff. I main with the Evo Hunter, so maybe I'm biased in this. But I think I'm going to leave him A tier because not a lot of people know how to counter the Hunter. They think that you can counter him the same sort of way, but I can't tell you the amount of times I've seen a mini P.E.K.K.A get thrown a net on and then completely countered because they didn't expect my Hunter to just completely counter that card. Executioner is another A tier card. This is a very good Evo. The pushback does work because a lot of cards that counter it, like a Prince or a mini P.E.K.K.A or whatever, it's going to get pushed out, and then they can put skellies in front of it. So if you miss your skeletons on a night charge or a Prince charge or on a mini P.E.K.K.A, you can throw your Executioner. It's going to give you just a little bit more time to get something out in front of it. That's going to be an A tier card. Next up, we have the Inferno Dragon. I'm going to put Inferno Dragon in C tier. This is one that I played with. I had a video when it first came out. If you haven't seen that, check that out. The Inferno Dragon playthrough. I wasn't super impressed with it. I get that you charge up and you get to hold on to your charge, but it can still get zapped. It can still get frozen. It's still countered in a very similar way. It's elite when you're playing somebody that doesn't know how to counter it. When it just goes one to the next, you can get a lot of value that way. But most people know how to counter an Evo Inferno Drag. I'm not sure that it gives you a ton of value. Next up is the Evo Furnace. I'm going to throw Evo Furnace in B tier, actually. And that might be controversial. It's a very good Evo. It's a very strong card. The card itself is very strong. The Evo doesn't add a whole lot to it. It still is taken out by the same spells. And even though you're spawning more fire spirits, it's still countered in a very similar sort of way. So for that reason, I'm going to put it in B tier. And then the Skeleton Barrel, I'm also going to put in B tier. Very similar reasons. It's a very strong Evo, and it's very situational. And when you get those situations, it works very well. But it's countered very similar to how the regular one is. You can still log it if it gets on your tower. You can still place a building down and get both balloons to drop. Situationally, it works very well, but it's countered in a very similar manner. So I'm going to put it in B tier. This tier list doesn't have the new ones. So Baby Dragon, I would probably put in A tier. It's another very situational card. A Golem deck, the fact that it pushes cards forward, like it's a very good support card. So if you get E-Drag, Baby Drag, and a Golem, like that's lethal. Electro Giant, all those cards, very good card, put it in A tier. The Evo Skarmy, I'm going to put in C tier. That's controversial, but I'm going to put it in C tier. I know you can do the split. Again, it's very situational. If you play in somebody that doesn't know how to counter it, that's one thing. But arrows completely shuts it down, and most people are going to have arrows in their deck. If you can get the shield off of the Guardian King, then you can just log it. Very easy to counter. I'm going to put it in C tier. And then, is there any other Evo that just... Oh, Evo Hogs. Finally, the Evo Hogs. I'm going to put Evo Hogs in B tier. It's the flying is very cool. It's very difficult to, like they get on tower quicker. It feels like you can't counter them the same sort of way. You have to use an air based or like some sort of zap or something. So they definitely are a big step up from the non-Evo. But at the end of the day, Evo Hogs are, they're very... I know I just said that like you can counter it, that you have to think differently to counter them, but it's a very similar sort of counter. You're still going to use a building. You're still going to use like a hunter or an executioner, a wizard. Most of the splash troops hit flying troops anyway. So for those reasons, that's where that's going to land. But that's all the Evos. If you were looking to get new ones and you haven't unlocked the Mega Knight, the Witch, the Firecracker, or the Skeletons, those are the first 4 that I would get. Those are elite S tier Evos. If you disagree with me, there might be some situations I'm not thinking about here. Let me know in the comments if you think I got it right or if you think I got it wrong. But let me know, how would you rank these? Any of the A tiers you're going to be solid with if you're trying to purchase a new Evo. I would stay away from the F tier Evos, the C tier Evos. B tier is a little bit more situational, but any of the A tiers you're going to be golden with. If you're already using one of these cards in your deck, might as well upgrade it to an Evo. But if you don't have any of those 4 S tier cards, I would highly recommend. Those are elite evolutions to unlock. So keep that in mind. Let me know in the comments below. I will see you on the next one.